Thank you for being here. Thank you for the invitation. I'm sure usually it's only half of the people in this room that attend, but because it's me, you have a full house today. Tammy, make sure you keep me on the schedule. Before I begin, I want to give you a disclosure. So, if you like what you see, you can thank Miles. If you hate it, you can also complain to Miles. Because he was on my hiring committee almost 10 years ago, when he was a student body president at Cerritos College. So remember, if you don't like it, feel free to send your complaints to Miles.
Good job, Miles! Good job, Miles!
No, you should wait until you see it. But it's good to see you, Miles. I think I haven't seen you in, I almost didn't recognize you. So
Yeah.
good seeing you.
Yeah, likewise.
All right, so I'm going to go briefly over some of the things that we have been doing at Cerritos College, what are we focusing on, some of the growth that we have experienced over the last several years, but most importantly, where are we heading? I think there are a couple of pieces that I want you to keep in mind once we finish here. There are two things that I want you to remember. The first one, Cerritos College contributes over $500 million to the local economy every single year. That is actually more than all the tech industry in our area produces every year. So every year, Cerritos College produces over $500 million into the local economy. The second thing that I want you to remember is that our job here isn't simply to educate the students, it's actually to serve as an engine of economic development in our region. If you don't remember anything else from today's presentation, over $500 million to the local economy every single year, and two, our job is to be an economic development engine for the entire community. So why is a college degree valued? So oftentimes you hear billionaires, because it's usually those that have a lot of money and college degrees, who tells you that you don't need a college degree. So every time in the news you hear all kinds of people say, yeah, you don't need a college degree in today's economy. Yes, don't send your kids to college, not worth it anymore. Yes, it is true in most cases, the value of a degree, like, to get it, has increased. Not necessarily in community colleges, but in most colleges and universities, yes, going to college costs a little more today. However, the return on investment is the highest return on investment that you can ever experience in anything that you do. So people without a college degree are 6 times more likely to be in poverty than those who have college degrees. Just right there, that changes the entire context of someone's life expectancy. Just to give you a little bit of context, someone with a graduate degree, a professional degree, will earn over $2.2 million more over the lifetime of earnings than someone who only has a high school degree. Someone with a master's degree, $1.7 million more over a lifetime. Someone with a baccalaureate degree, over $1.2 million over a lifetime. So getting a degree is fully worth it, and it's still the best way to get out of poverty and into the middle class. So when you hear those old Twitter or X warriors saying going to school is no longer worth it, the data does not support that. It just simply doesn't. And ask yourself, do any of these people that are advocating for you not to send your kids to college are doing the same with their own kids? And the answer is no. Well, most of these billionaires that are advocating for that have degrees from Ivy Leagues, and they're sending their kids to Ivy Leagues. None of them are actually not sending their kids to college and teaching them some sort of trade so they get out of poverty. So when you look at the division of income by degree, there is something very interesting here that you see. So here is the share of earnings by educational attainment, and here the share of workers by educational attainment. So to summarize it here, 48% of the population consumes 65% of every dollar. Meaning that those who have a baccalaureate degree or higher are going to take about 65 cents on every dollar available in the market. What that basically means, in the flip side of that, is that those with lower qualifications have a smaller piece of the pie to be split among them. Further increasing the value of a college degree. Why do we say that we are an economic development engine? We are an economic development engine because our graduates tend to stay in our local communities. Even when they transfer to other universities outside of the area, they tend to return to our local community. The key of that is that they return and they are earning more than when they left. And the beauty of that for those who run cities is that they pay more taxes. More taxes increase the quality of life in our local communities. Better roads, more parks, safety, recreation, so on and so forth. That is without mentioning the items that lead with quality of life. Someone that has a college education is more likely to live longer. Life expectancy is longer. Why? They're likely to drink less. They probably have a lower chance of being a smoker. They tend to be a little more active. They have access to medical insurance. Therefore, a lot of preventive care. That changes communities. So when we talk about changing communities, that is part of what we do. Yes, we obviously want to graduate students, but our job is not necessarily to graduate a student at any cost. Our job is to outlive our community. We firmly believe that we are here for three main reasons. The first, to uplift our students, uplift our employees, and uplift our communities. And we do that through economic development. And the economic development is via education. When you look at our service area, the level of attainment is very low. Yes, you have pockets of higher attainment levels, but overall, the area that we serve, the level of attainment is low, meaning the earning potentials are lower. The only way to bring them up, obviously, with education, as I showed with the data. Since when I arrived in 2015, on my first convocation, we awarded about 2,500 degrees and certificates. And nearly every year since, we have increased the number of degrees and certificates that we award. This last year, during graduation, we awarded 8,157 degrees and certificates. A significant increase since 2015. But when we look at the degrees and certificates, what we're trying to do is align the value of our education to what our community needs, to areas of employment, and to ensure that those who graduate are able to earn more than they did before. How to do this? We are trying our best, and we'll continue to try our best to reduce the time to completion. We want our students to graduate faster. We like our students, we enjoy having them on campus, but we know that the longer they stay in our campus, the less likely they are to graduate. And if that wasn't the case, the longer they stay in our campus, the more costly their education is, even if they're not paying tuition. Remember, to go to school, I'm not working. So if I'm making $20 an hour working, but I'm in school 5 hours a day, I am not earning $100 $100. Therefore, even if the student isn't paying for the tuition, it's costing that student every single time they are in a class. Two, going to school is pricey. Gas costs, food, if you have kids, babysitting. So we want to make sure that our students complete in the shortest period of time. But not any degree. One, a degree that is transferable and that it has a high value in the market. Or two, a certificate that is aligned with the workforce needs, meaning short term that they are able to enter the market at a higher wage. As we move forward, we developed last fall what we call the Student First Framework. And the Student First Framework it's a 10-year plan divided in two pieces. The first one, continue to work on the reduction of time to graduation. The second one, align our programs in a way that allows students to come in, get it out, get done, and get out. And last but not least, attain credentials that are of high value in the job market. Now, with this, I don't want to imply that education isn't important for the sake of education. However, learning for the sake of learning is something that we steal on someone to become lifelong learners, not necessarily to spend a lot more time in college. When you come from an underserved area, or when you come from a family that has not gone to college, like about 55% of our students, it is important for those students to complete a credential, and it's important for those students to complete a credential that leads to a job with a livable wage. Whether that credential ends on an associate degree or a master's degree, that's a different part of the conversation, but it has to be outlined from the moment they walk in our campus to the moment that we transfer them to our transfer institutions. So we're doing everything we can to make sure our programs are not only aligned internally, but with our transfer institutions and the job market. Now, when our students finish their program, they start earning $11,000 more a year with an associate degree. And when they transfer, in average, they earn $30,000 more a year. That doesn't seem like a significant number from the get-go, but remember, that number increases nearly every year and compounds over a 30+ year career. So well, initially seems that $1,000 a month or so isn't a huge change after 2 years of education. The value of that exceeds any return that you will see in the stock market. Let's say you have an average return of 10%, the value of your education with this type of return will be about 23%. If you do enroll into a career and technical education program that is aligned with the job market, these careers are incredibly underrated. They have a return on investment of about 60%, 60% more per hour. So if you have a welding certificate, if you have an automotive, if you do CNC machining, coding, and so on and so forth, those certificates that are aligned to the work market, that are high demand, have the highest return on investment. And oftentimes, they are grossly underrated because of the perception of going into a CTE program versus going to a traditional education path. It's not either or. It can be this and that. If I need to get out of a difficult economic situation, I can easily, in a year, get a certificate in cloud computing, start earning $80,000, $90,000 a year, and continue my education to become a programmer or an engineer or whatever that may be, and continue to increase my salary. We can't continue to say the career and technical education programs have less time, and the data suggests there are more jobs there, that they pay more, and that they get people faster into the job market, and many of them return to complete a full degree. Now we have to be smart about it. We cannot continue to do what we did in the past, in which we say, well, if you have a certificate and you come back, you have to start from scratch. That doesn't work. That doesn't work for the older adult. For many reasons. One, if you already have the classes you need to have to begin with, why do I have to repeat it? And two, because we are undervaluing the experience of someone who has been in industry, who has done the job in the real world versus what we're going to teach them in the classroom. So we have created a number of stackable credentials that have in and out points. The students come, get their degree and certificate, enter the workforce, and then they have the opportunity to come back in the same spot where they left, take the next set of courses, and complete their degree, which makes it attractive for them and has allowed us to develop partnerships with local industry in which their employers pay for their education and send cohorts to us so they can continue their education to us, with us to gain internal promotion. As I mentioned earlier, the investment in Cerritos College outperformed the stock market by a long shot. For students, get a return on investment of about 23% versus the 9% in average that you will get. So going to school is still the best investment that we can do versus the alternative. Cerritos College is very proud to contribute over $500 million to the local economy every single year. This impact only calculates what is tangible in dollars, or actually investment that can be tracked. It does not calculate the intangible, which is, as we said before, healthier communities with liberal college are less likely to rely on state local services. They're more likely to be healthier, they're more likely to use their annual checkups, and so on and so forth. These create stronger communities and communities that are more efficient from the economic perspective. We continue to say and to advocate for a college degree, and we also want to make sure that our students know and our communities know that a college degree still is the best path into the middle class. Some of you probably are examples of that, just like me. That if you didn't go to school, what you have today probably will not have turned out the way it is. I know it did for me, and I want to make sure that all of the students who come to Cerritos College have the same opportunity. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer them. Nearly all of them. Cerritos College is a majority serving institution, so about 92% depending on the semester, for students are students of color, primarily Latinos.
So more power to the school. Yeah.
How many classes are dual enrollment in the high schools?
Our dual enrollment program has been growing quite a bit, and I think we are over 1,200 this semester, I would say.
Probably more than that.
I think it's a little more than that, but safely I will say over 1,200. A few years back, when we were part of the Norwood School District Board, we developed a partnership with all of our local school districts, in which our goal is to be able to graduate high school students at the same time as they graduate from Cerritos College. We have been able to achieve some of that, not to the number that we want. So we have several students now that have graduated out of high school at the same time as they're graduating from college. Our numbers are not high enough yet. The number of students taking classes enough to earn 30 transferable units have increased quite a bit. We recently opened our college academy on Bellflower High and Artesia. They seem to be on track to be able to graduate a higher number of students with associate degrees by the time they finish high school.
How many school districts
All of our service districts and a couple that are not part of our service area. So Norwood Mirada, ABC, Bellflower, and Downey. But we also have Paramount and to some extent, but they're not as many service areas. Yes.
I just wanted to thank you for the partnership we have for dual enrollment and college credit classes. This semester, we have more than about 22 or 24 sections of dual enrollment, and we will have our first early college cohort graduating this year. So thank you.
Yeah, I'm interested in what type of additional efforts are made to contact or make efforts to make college desirable for students in high school who haven't been made aware of college, who lack basic needs to be cognizant of applying for college. When I was in high school, there's a very important story I share with people that I remember senior year in high school at lunch, people were talking about what colleges they got into, and I didn't even know when to apply, right? And I think that's a huge issue across the country where high schools particularly fail students who might not be motivated, or might not have a stable house or basic needs such as food or shelter to even think about going to college. And that's not their fault, right? So I think I'm interested in what pipelines are being institutionalized. So not just the motivated students who want to do dual enrollment or who are thinking about college, but what about the students who are left behind?
Yeah, thank you for that question. So there are two pieces there, so let me give you some context. Dual enrollment initially was developed for those students who were college bound, right? However, the data shows they help more those students that are not college bound. Most of the time, initially when we started offering dual enrollment, we went to the classes that were honors or the students that are college bound. We have been expanding that to ensure that it's available to all the students, and we are beginning an effort to get into continuation schools. Continuation schools is a place where traditionally not a lot of these high-level classes are offered because working with the students in a continuation school is difficult. However, what we are developing is the ability of placing certificates that are connected to the job market, that are short-term, that will allow students in continuation schools to earn college degrees, college certificates, to get connected to the workforce right away and take those credits for them so they can then come back to finish a degree and transfer if that's what they want to do. But what we have found and what the pilot is going to be is make sure that they get something that is tangible. Sometimes those who are in continuation schools may not be interested in finishing education, but they're interested in getting a job. But not any job, a job that pays. So again, for cloud computing is one of those pieces that you don't have to be really good in math and programming, and you can enter the tech industry. You can get a basic certificate in about about 6 months, and those are windows long enough to address those who are in concentration schools. The next part of that is we started a pilot in Bellflower, and this pilot is to get every single student that is going to graduate registered for college. And the way that we're going to do that is by going into the high schools with our counselors, with our equipment, partnering with the high school, and they're going to give up a few class periods in their English classes, I think, and government, exclusively for the students to register, fill out the applications and everything that get them registered to college. Now, of course, we want them to register to Cerritos College. That's fine. But we will help them register to whatever school they want, as long as the second option is us. Realistically speaking, a lot of those students are gonna come to us, but they don't know yet. And it's better if we help them go to where they feel like they can go, want to go, get the record of knowing where is it they want to go, so when they come to us, we can put them on track to go where they want to go. So we are starting with one high school, Bellflower High, this time around, but the idea is to embed that into every single one of the high schools that we have.
What is the advantage of getting a, let's say cloud computing, any kind of IT or higher level technical certification from the college versus going to somewhere like AWS, getting a certification from AWS certifications or Google?
So AWS, we actually work with AWS, and that is part of the curriculum that we teach. Two, through us, the student will earn college credit, meaning that if they want to come back and get a second level or programming or anything that builds from that point on, they can. They, of course, can get similar knowledge from a different provider, but they will not have college credit. And the idea for us is to help the student enter the workforce but continue to be engaged, because we know the degree at the end of the day produces promotions, salary increases, and usually pays a little more per hour than someone without it.
Was there a better resource center?
Say again, I'm sorry?
Does your school have a veteran resource center? And if so, what resources are available for individuals that are transitioning from their service in the military into an educational environment?
So we are very much a military-friendly institution. We do have a Veterans Resource Center. It's incredibly active. We offer all available resources for our veterans. And we recently started a program with the help of Congresswoman Michelle Steele that is going to allow us to begin integrating the student veterans into the campus community by providing them with paid jobs outside of the Veterans Resource Center. So the way the veterans benefits work for employment at the college means that the students can only work in jobs that are connected to the Veterans Resource Center or serving veterans. What we're trying to do is secure resources that will allow those students to go and work at the library or at my office or at any place on campus, learn different skill sets, have to interact with civilians. The civilians will learn what it's like to work and learn from a veteran, and for the veterans, will help them transition into a civilian life, which is what they will encounter in a traditional job. With that, we also want to reduce the stigma associated with hiring and working with veterans, because what we have found is that they are, one, incredibly experienced. They have held jobs under high stress, organized, timely, and so on. great to hang out with, and two, they can teach us a lot of things that we otherwise wouldn't be able to learn, and we can do the same back with them.
First of all, Dr. Thompson, your school and your institution, for the education you're providing to the students. However, what are you doing, or what are you planning to provide these students with practical experience? It's been my experience, and what I do, I've been doing it for 17 years, is that the student comes out, goes to work, works in the workforce, but because he lacks the practical experience, realizes this is not what I want to do, or really is unclear. And so I've been successful in collaborating with educational institutions to provide that. So it's Cerritos doing something for the local area to collaborate with organizations like myself, who is affiliated with SBA, Seeds, all these different that we can provide, because we take on businesses to help them expand and provide this practical experience to the student.
Yeah, so that's a good question. It has a bunch of angles there, but the first one is, yes, we do place for the students and internships and clinical experiences, practicums, and so on. We prioritize those that pay over those that are volunteer. Yes, in some areas more students are going to volunteer, but in other areas we expect the students to get compensated for the work they do. Two, it is important to, and actually this reminds me of a conversation I had with the former CEO of Metro. They wanted to grab the students and get them to work, and I said, yeah, sure, we can connect you, and we have the program, we can do the training for you. What is the career ladder for this? No, we just need operators. And I said, no, let me rephrase this. How could one of my students, over a period of time, will get your job? We just need operators. And I said, well, that's what you're having a hard time returning the students, because, well, some of them may want to be operators for the rest of their life. Some of them are looking to start there, but that is not the finish line. And you need to ensure that their needs are met, just like your needs are met. Two, students today, and we're struggling with this, so I'm sure some of you are too, when they first graduate, they are very different than the employees that we currently have. Very. The expectations of the workplace, incredibly different. What we find rewarding in the job, they don't seem to like it. So I think it's important for employers to start making the shift of how those students, new graduates, are retained, motivated, and encouraged. And last but not least, many of these new graduates are going to change careers probably 2 or 3 times more frequently than we did. Mainly because the economy is changing so drastically. So we hear early about artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence is probably going to switch what we do. It's already doing it, which means that our new graduates will require newer and newer skills, and to do that, we need to adapt. So, long story short, yes, we do provide we do partner for internships. Two, I think it's important for all of us to think how to retain, attract, and motivate newer graduates. And last but not least, I think the expectations need to be consistent with who they are. And I think we're all guilty of this. I have hired recent graduates, and I'm disappointed of what they bring. But in reality, I was looking with the wrong lens, because I cannot expect someone that just came out of college to have the same level of skill and a 15-year veteran than that. And that is different. And two, even if they have the same skill, sometimes paying more doesn't do the trick for them. I have had people that have left to lower paying jobs because nothing else they offer that I didn't. So we're trying to learn at the same time, and it's a very complicated landscape now that our workforce is so diverse, and the ages that we have in an office, they're huge. So
Just one quick question. Are you engaging the parents at the high school level and educating them about the college process? Because what we know, the biggest predictor that somebody's going to get a college degree is if the parents graduated from college too.
yeah.
But parents, so you have a piece for them.
Yeah, so we have a program that is called Cerritos Complete. We onboard over half of our students that way. And essentially that is a reward program in which they come in, and if they come in, they get a series of perks. But in order to come in, the parents have to go to what is called parent nights, and they have to commit to get the student through. We know that the commitment is not necessarily something that we can enforce, but it gets them connected to what we do. While they are in high school transitioning to us, we engage them. Once they come to college, obviously we can, because of the different laws. But prior to that, yes, they're expected to attend with the student.
Thank you so much. If you've not been to the campus recently, I encourage you to take a tour. They are growing. I don't want to use the word exponentially.